Oof, it's gonna be a weird one. Why is it always a weird one? Who cares? We can't help it at this point. Let's open this folder.
Hey, Socrates, why shall look so wallen, lost jawlards and wide timbers? And Shaka I see who's on his army, yeah, Shaka when all the walls fall. But I don't know if Jean-Luc gets these lost jawlards and wide timbers. They're falling again. Good night, Elytra, we love you. Dathan has left the planet.
Woo.
The summer is past, but your days keep growing longer. There's no wind in your sails, but the storm's blowing stronger. Walking hard, standing tall, keeping your head up through it all. Fighting fires, spinning plates. Goodness, how did it get so late? Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and just let your mind flow downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. Joe Hills is filmed before a live streaming audience.
That's us! Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee, and tonight y'all are my live streaming audience. We have been working on some time lapses here in advance of my next episode. This episode is almost done, with the exception of a few very cool time lapses I'm working on. And why can't I look at this as a detail? Okay, so let me see if I can find this. One of the time lapses I was working on was this. Can I load this into OBS and play it? Let's see. So this is a time lapse rendered from this ReplayMod file earlier today. And the first few seconds are going to get cut out because it needs to get the chunks in. But then you should start seeing motion now. And you can see the hermits. Like, I'm the one doing the weird grid line thing in this clip here. I realized if I did grid lines, then the grass would kind of fill in better. It kind of gives the grass a chance to grow. You can see there's a lot of hermits working on this part of the perimeter at the time. Pretty cool. I like it. I'm having fun. Everybody's having fun. But, and I specifically rendered it from this angle so we could show like the long distance view with deep field and whatnot in there. But I also realized, like, oh boy, there's actually some bits that I think could look better if we reshot this from a different angle. And I know perfect is the opposite of done, but I was thinking about the Biffa's bowl analogy in the oh boy, in the poem. And I realized maybe we need to frame the pinball machine more like how the rainbow is viewed from the bowl. The perimeter and the pinball machine have a parallel relationship like the rainbow and the bowl, and we need the cinematography to represent that. And so, yeah, we're going to try a more sweeping, distant view here. And we're going to maybe try and get a little bit cute with it. We're going to try maybe doing a little bit more than we should, but like to some degree that's how we learn. So we're going to save this as second distance. I did a few just long distance shots of this. The first one wasn't much better. The second one's better than the first one. But this is not my first attempt to render this. But as I've been making these attempts, I've realized maybe we need to bring the camera lower, like closer to the height of this hill here. But then have the pinball machine looming and bring it from like left to right here. Right? Like something like this more. So we have, at this point, the camera is not necessarily focused on the pinball machine. It's focused on that center point to some degree. It's focused on Doc's thing. Yeah. So let's say that we put this position here. And then for the second one, we're going to remove that. We're going to come all the way over here. And we're going to click this. Except what we're going to do is we're going to try and keep the... We're going to try and keep the camera focused on this center point, right? And then at that point. So now we've got it sweeping across here. Jason Smith says, I'm worried this is going to give my friend ideas, though, lol. At least my perimeter is only 9 chunks, so cleanup won't be too bad. Yeah, that's kind of a different problem. Now, I think what I also need to do is have, like, I need to take that time point there. Let's jump forward here. And... we're waiting for that to jump forward. This will be a minute. It's got to basically replay like 2 hours worth of data, network data here. Okay. Leanne says, I can't wait for Doc's reaction. I mean, he told us to rise and grind. Have we not arisen? War Zombie says, I'm worried my server mates will do this to me too. It's a war crime. I mean, I don't think I'm at war with these guys, so... Okay, so at this point, this is after we leave the dimension, clearly. So that really sucks. We need to back that up at least a minute before I had to repair my elytra. So let's roll that back to 75, and then try jumping to that. We just made the great goat mother proud, exactly. Doc is definitely working on a hit list, which is why we need to get this video out before we get hit, so that we can make that video next. I mean, I don't know if you've seen underneath. Okay, so clearly this is still after we left the dimension. So let's drop that back to 73 and then jump to that point. But like, it actually, underneath the perimeter looks way cooler than it used to. If he put a bunch of soul torches under the dirt as like stars, he could build a constellation. He could build a night sky under there. Okay, this is like clearly broken here. Let's roll it back another 3 minutes and try going to that point. Evening, Space Demon. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Why is this? Did I really leave this dimension that early in this episode? I feel like something's wrong here. This doesn't feel right. Let's jump to 65. Okay, oh yeah, so this was right before I looked out. Cool. So if we go to this viewpoint now. Excuse me, load some chunks, please. Let's set the render distance down to maybe 105 chunks. We might have run out of memory. I forgot about that rare cat. Oh my gosh, we're the stupidest people. Okay. Yeah, this might just be an out of memory problem. Yeah, this is an out of memory problem. We're going to exit the replay. It has been a very long day. Spent a lot of time on editing today. This episode's almost done. I'm just trying to get this one bit right, you know? Just trying to get this one bit right. La da 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 dun 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 bum 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 do 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 do. I think Doc is acting mad because he only saw the other people's videos. I think once he actually goes in there and looks at it, he will be in awe. This is like if you saw the parts where Scar and Grian fly around underneath the perimeter or underneath the dirt. This is actually one of the most beautiful things we've ever constructed as a group. It's actually, it makes everything Doc has built to this point look way cooler than it already did. Like, I think it's a huge thing. Okay, so that loads in the deep field there. See, I don't know why these chunks aren't loading in now. But, like, that's not right. Like, the chunks should be loading. Welcome, Sapphire Smith. We're doing some ReplayMod work on the perimeter stuff. Okay, and while we wait for that, we're gonna check on this other thing. Okay. Okay, so let's see. If we go back in time now, does it unload all those chunks? Is that going to be a separate thing? This is a new problem. We were not having this problem before, but we are having this problem now. Why? Why might we be having this problem now? Render distance too far? Render distance lower. Shadows too far? Shadows lower. So the question is this only broken here, or is this broken in the rendering too? Let's just try a quick test render. I'm even going to set the file name. We're going to wait till that starts actually rendering frames, which can be a minute. Can give that a second, let it load in. Hey, we got our first tip of the stream from Andrew for 20, who writes, "Good evening." Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Let's go ahead and get that first face camera expansion out here now. Expand Joe. Do. Okay. The fact that this isn't rendering any chunks makes me a little nervous. And let's see if we have crashed Minecraft entirely. We sure might have, because it's using a stable amount of memory, and it should be using a variable amount of memory. Kill the process. Da 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 da. Kill the process. Let's maybe disable the iris mod just as a treat, and then click launch. Okay. Okay, chunks seem to be loading in general. I think we want to reset to there, and then we want to... So we give the whole thing a little bit of time to load in. Let's make sure that the render distance is sufficient to get the pinball machine, because that's pretty vital for the whole shot. Still rendering. Still rendering, still rendering, still rendering, yeah. T T T T T T T T T T T T. Bum 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 bum. T T T T T. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Okay. So it looks like we're definitely within range to get those chunks to load. If we do this right. Jason Smith says, first time watching a HermitCraft stream, Joe. Nice to see you at a regular pace, expanding the time lapses, if we will. Yeah, this is really behind the scenes. We have a saying in America, like Full House was filmed before a live studio audience. My show is filmed before a live streaming audience. The folks at home get to see the bits that go into the thing. The Ant says, but would the Hermits destroy bases? I mean, it depends on the context, probably. Like, I mean, I put 3 buckets of lava that could be removed with 3 empty buckets on Grian's base one time, and people freaked out. Three buckets of lava in the right place can make all the difference in the world. But we were cowards then. Scar blew up Mumbo's base. Yeah, Mumbo legitimately really did want people to blow up his base. He was worried nobody would want to do it. And so it was good that Scar jumped on that. Okay, let's see if this actually renders. We're just going to do a quick test render. I mean, I can't even imagine how Doc would destroy my base. If Doc tried to destroy my base, whatever he built, like that base was so like my base isn't fragile in the same way like Doc's redstone or mining machines are fragile. If he actually managed to destroy my base, like that would be crazy wild. Like I'd be really impressed actually. Like Nez says, Joe, would you have blown up Mumbo's base? Oh, absolutely. He just didn't ask me. Because here's the thing, is if somebody's like, Grian blew up Mumbo's base, Mumbo's fans would be like, no, Grian's so mean. I can't believe he would do that. if Joe Hills blew up Mumbo's base, Mumbo's fans would be like, "Oi, it was Joe Hills, isn't it?" I mean, like, they're gonna go yell at Stephen King's son and then an American football player for 8 hours on Twitter, and they won't even find me. I'll be fine. I'm good. I don't need to stress about that stuff. I got enough name collisions going on that that's not a concern, really. That's not a serious concern for me. Okay. But seriously though, if he terraformed the underside to add like glow berries and a bunch of other stuff, this could, or if he like poked bubbles in the surface that let sunlight through, this could look amazing. The mind of me says the one thing that bothers me a little bit is Doc hasn't done anything. He's the first and biggest victim. What do you mean Doc hasn't done anything? Oh wait, we have the night on. We need to turn night vision on and then we'll do another render. New render, new render. Doc constantly does stuff. Didavio, Didavio says, I hope that whatever happens, the audience is mature enough to deal with it. I think what we've realized lately is we don't care if the audience is mature enough. If their parents failed to prepare them for a world where there's cartoonish violence in a Minecraft video series, that's not our jobs. Like, that's their parents' failures, not our failures. We should be allowed to blow up each other's bases, and we're holding ourselves back by worrying about what children will think. Children should be taught to distrust media, and maybe we've been doing a bad job of teaching them to distrust media. Sherry, thank you so much for the 20, who says, hey Joe, thanks for the hours of entertainment. Do you have a book of poetry available for purchase? I love when you share poems during your videos. If not, would you consider publishing a collection? That is actually in, I've put out a book before, through, it wasn't published through the Vanderbilt University Press imprint, but they share their printers with locals and alumni who need printers. I have printed books through them before. And I would be interested in printing one again. Right now, we just, it's not my primary focus at the moment. I've definitely considered publishing a collection. The problem is I'm the only person who works for me that knows how to use Adobe InDesign. And I hate using Adobe InDesign. That's like 90% of it. It's not that I don't think there'd be demand. It's not that I don't know how to print a book. It's that I know how much I hate Adobe InDesign. And I can't take on a project like that until I can be sure that I'm back on track with a good weekly HermitCraft update schedule first. So that is in the cards. It's just not in the cards quite yet. I'm trying to focus on getting the update schedule fixed first. But before that, we need to expand Joe. So thank you again to Sherry. Yeah. That'll be out some days. Lakshmi13 says that her kids' response to Joe saying children should be taught to distrust media is definitely. Stephanie also says the parenting failures result on the community to re-educate those that need it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, we should, if there are broad failures in societal media literacy, we should confront those, not coddle those. Gideon says, you should not be distrustful. Media isn't bad or good. It's the people you interact with. You should be careful, but there's no reason to fully avoid it. We're not saying to avoid media. We're saying basic media literacy involves a healthy, dubious approach. I don't know where you got the idea that you should avoid media from my statement. I'm saying avoiding media is impossible in the modern world while engaging with the modern world. And you should be taught to be skeptical, which means to question things and criticize them analytically rather than take them at face value. Like, I mean, or you guys just keep misinterpreting them, I guess. Winger Win says, is Joe even a real person? This is actually one of the reasons we needed to publish the TCG so we can go play cards with you guys, because there's going to be VTubers in like 8 months that are better than this. I think this is pretty realistic looking. Look at how realistic. I think it's pretty realistic looking. But people aren't going to buy it. They're going to go 6 months from now and be like, oh, that's just a puppet. An AI is doing the voice and the script. And so it's important for us to get out there and actually play games with people and be seen. Obviously, you know, like for a hermit that has millions of viewers in their audience, they're not going to get to hang out with every person. But like if 1 in 10 or 1 in 300 even has seen them in real life, then those people can vouch. You know what I mean? Right? So I have probably met thousands of people at conventions over the years. On a long enough timeline, you're going to bump into one of them, and they can vouch for me. But yeah, and that's the other thing, is like, if I was like, hey, I'm going to be at this convention at this date at this time, then the Joe Hills truthers could be like, well, let's go see if Joe really shows up for this panel, or if it's just a AI VTuber puppet. Jason Smith says, love the story about the comedy club in the UK. Oh yeah, that was a fantastic trip. I seriously, that week that week visiting my fiance in London, meeting my fiance's family and family friends, and just touring the city, the best week of my life. It was just absolutely amazing. NJ says, can confirm, also hi. So NJ has met Impulse and Skiz, and I've met Impulse and Skiz. And so I know that NJ is real. Also, I've met NJ, but I might doubt those memories because I don't get a lot of sleep and my long-term memory formation is bad. But I can check the messages that I got back from Imp and Skiz about meeting NJ and be like, no, that's a real thing. NJ's real. Got it. Dun, 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 dun. Someone will have to make a bacon number chart so we can tell who's real and who's fake. Lakshmi13 says, Joe, you're hurting my head. Lakshmi13, from what I've seen on the Discord, your head was hurting on its own, and I am not to blame. Like, I blame myself for a lot of people's problems, but I'm not going to accept that one. No, no, no. You cannot put that on me. Daniel says, Joe, are you going to do the Imp and Skiz podcast? I would love to one day. I'd love to be an in-person guest rather than a call-in guest. So I've started looking at, once the TCG is published, I'm going to look for conventions in the Arizona area that I could maybe hang out with them at the convention, play some TCG games with fans from Arizona, and then like maybe we go back to their studio and record a podcast, you know, on the Monday or whatever. but that's not like a soon thing. They haven't invited me to do this. I'm kind of inviting myself because I'm rude. Don't tell them you heard I was invited, because I'm not invited. I'm just very aggressive. I was recommended in their Discord channels. What, as a podcast guest? Yeah, I would absolutely, I would really enjoy being a podcast guest on their show. They have a great show. Okay, 128. So let's, I'm going to take a picture of this with my phone. But yeah, so that's the thing though, is I want to meet Imp and Skiz and record a podcast with them. But to me, it's more important to also get FaceTime with the fans and play some TCG with those folks. So we're going to try and do both, if I can. Sean Deere says more cool people need to invite themselves to my podcast, lol. What's your podcast about, Sean Deere? I know there's a rule against self-promotion, but I'm waiving it here. This is a direct question. What is your podcast about? And if it's pinball, then yes. I am inviting myself to your pinball podcast. If it's not a pinball podcast, I don't know. I'll see what I can do. Okay. It's not pinball, it's tabletop gaming. Sean Deere, well, you know, like, I made a tabletop role-playing game. Gum.co/penguins? Is that still a viable link? Let's see if that link still works. You can set the price to 0 and download it. I made this with my friends. It's open gaming licensed. Pitfalls and Penguins. We play indie TTRPGs that focus on narrative. I did what now? So when D&D version 4 came out, we felt like it wasn't very good for improv humor. So we made a open gaming licensed split of D&D 3 that would be optimized for telling funny stories with your friends. But then it turned out that a lot of the problems we were trying to solve ended up being solved in 5th edition anyway. And so we kind of, like, basically, we did a Kickstarter, we raised $5,400, we printed and sold a bunch of books, and then we kind of were like, oh, 5th edition just solved all these problems, didn't it? Oh, boy. I guess we'll shut it all down. Oh, gosh. It's fine. But yeah, like the stuff that we were trying to figure out how to solve, they solved way better with, like, stuff like Advantage. Although our spell list is built on, like, real world physics turned up to 11, because we're like, oh, this is stuff that just lets the wizard be hilarious. Like, what if there's just a spell that gets rid of friction? Mechanically, how does that work? You're the dungeon master, you deal with it. There's no friction in this area. Stuff goes fast and doesn't stop. The inertial frame of reference is clear. You sort it out. Chamomile says, I know nothing about D&D. How did you optimize it for humor? Well, we did a bunch of things, like added a bunch of really funny spells based on real world physics. We also changed it so that when you roll a 1, instead of it being a critical failure, it is a hilarious success. Yeah, you can't start moving without friction too, Eric Popcorn. Yeah, that's we mentioned that, I'm pretty sure. But basically, so let's say you rolled a 1 in D&D, that would be a critical failure. So, like, you're trying to pick a lock, and now you fail at picking the lock. The problem is that doesn't move the story forward. How can you make the game yes and? So we said if you roll a 1 on a skill check, you achieve your goal, but in the worst way possible for the party. So, like, your goal when trying to pick a lock is to open the door, right? So, you know, the rogue gets in there with the lock pick, rolls a 1, door swings open, and there's like 5 guards coming through carrying a keg on their way to the guardhouse. And everybody's equally surprised to see everybody. The door is now open. But now you have a different problem. Now, because as a dungeon master, you didn't necessarily allocate a bunch of time for an extra encounter, you have those guards be, like, really easy to defeat or whatever, but it's still, like, a complication, right? You say, yes, you achieve your goal, but with a complication. It's the monkey paw wish if you roll a 1. So the dungeon master, anytime they give a player a skill challenge, have to be prepared for what if the player succeeds hilariously. M. McBeegington says, failing upwards is a good DM tool. And that's exactly it. Yeah. Basically, rather than just failing and stalling the game, you fail forwards, right? Queen Dark Lady says, you can start moving without friction, you just have to change your mass. I wonder who here is working on a PhD in physics. It might be Queen Dark Lady. So, yeah. The Dungeon Master is the person in charge of being the storyteller. But yeah, so basically, we also added a bunch of playable species that are intrinsically funny, like rabbit, penguin, robot, shapeshifter, aka doppelganger, or doppelganger. We added quarter orcs because the idea is that half orcs are basically just orcs. You really got to get to quarter orc before you see any real change in the stats. And then we added playable classes like Scientist, Redneck, and Shapeshifter. We had 8 different magic schools that were optimized for hilarity. We rewrote the entire spell system. We literally got rid of every spell in D&D and wrote our own spell list. Yeah, like, we're like, look, if you want to play a half-orc, you can. Just use the orc stat block. But yeah, no, this is a free PDF anyone can download. Just type 0 in, it says name a fair price, type 0 and download it. Camille says this is such commitment to the bit and I love it. Yeah, this was a 254-page book I laid out in Adobe InDesign. We were talking about why we don't have a poetry book, and it's because the last time I laid out a book, it was 254-page, like, D&D game. Gideon Kagan says, what's the website? gum.co/penguins has the PDF you can download. It's called Pitfalls and Penguins. And like I said, 5th edition came out. Yeah, we also have a bunch of stuff. The setting is really goofy. All of the cities in all of the cities on the planet are named after Midwestern US cities. And so it's just like oh boy, this city is clearly influenced by Japan. That's why this region is called Mini Japan. The characters, though, won't know why it's called Mini Japan. And if they're asked, they'll go, I have no idea what a Japan is. But the capital of this region is named Indianapolis. Because all of the cities are just named after American Midwestern cities. There's a region called Texas. The capital of Texas, Topeka. Because why not? That's why. You know? But yeah, no, like, yeah. Immerse you and your friends in a goofy fantasy world featuring exotic cities like Topeka and Detroit. It's It's a very silly book. Cleveland is one of the most important cities in the game, Eric Popcorn. Sean Deere says, make the games you want to see in the world, Joe. Heck yeah. No, that's the thing, though, is, like, Chamomile says this approach should be used by more D&D people, I think. Well, that was the thing, though, is, like, one of the guys who worked on this was like, I hate coming up with fantasy names. I just want names I can say, like, Indianapolis. I can say Indianapolis. Let's just call this one that, right? Sean Deere says, I need everyone to look at indie tabletop role-playing games because they do this kind of nonsense. And Nutmeg Soup says, this is hilarious. So, yeah, I mean, I do know a little bit about tabletop role-playing games, is my point, Sean Deere. We spent 5 years writing this book. I spent 1 year laying it out. Oh, it looks like the final length of the PDF is 261 pages. It was... But, like... I aggressively worked on... Like, I live streamed working in Adobe InDesign on this book for 2 hours a day for, like, a year. And people are like, oh, yeah, the hermits never swear or whatever. And I'm like, if you watched my Adobe InDesign streams of making this book, I'd be like, why is this rotating 3 degrees? A text box should never rotate 3 degrees. Why? Why is this image swapped out with a nothing? Why doesn't it recognize where the file is? The file's on the disk. The file is on the disk. Like, it is really hard to work in Adobe InDesign and be, like, content with your life. I feel like the longer you work in Adobe InDesign, the more you start really going, like, am I in a simulation of hell? And why am I in a simulation of hell? Why? Everything that led me to this point seemed rational, but I'm here and no human being should be here. Why is this text box rotated 3 degrees? A text box should only ever go up and down if it's an entire column of text. What did I press? Why did it rotate? It's not good. This is why there's no poetry book. I don't want to inflict this on someone else by paying them to do it, and I don't want to do it myself. But I could. I'm actually toning this down. Like, this was like 10 years ago, and I can kind of laugh about it now. But I would just be legitimately upset and, like, screaming at the microphone about this stuff. It was bad. I don't want to do that again. I'm glad we could laugh about it now, though. That's just as a treat. We could laugh about it now. We can laugh about this now as a treat. Gideon Kagan says, Joe, are you mentally stable right now? But you also yelled in all caps, which is against the rules, so I'm going to time you out. Okay. Also, who's mentally stable ever? I feel like a lot of the ideas of normalcy are just lies or deception. I don't know. Something's wrong. I can't put my finger on it. Okay, so let's try going to here. So why is there like an extra... Something's wrong here. Hold on. Lost Cult Music says, former InDesign user for 7 years in my last job. Oh, and tips 3. Thank you, Lost Cult Music. Solidarity there. Space Demon, the stream's not really set up. We're not, yeah, really. It's just a mess right now. 12 new downloads. of Pitfalls and Penguins. I got an email. Yeah. Thank you, 12 new downloaders. Nez says there has to be an easier way than Adobe. In terms of book layout, there's not really a better tool for laying out a 260-page book at this point, as far as I know. Like, there are some new Photoshop competitors, there's some new Premiere competitors, there's some new Illustrator competitors, but I don't think there's, like, a real InDesign competitor for laying out a 260-page book. And please correct me if I'm wrong. But this is my understanding. Joe Gote says, latex easy. Well, that's some sarcasm right there. Thank you, Joe Gote. That definitely was, it was a pleasant joke. I appreciated it. It did make me giggle a little. Microbird says, I haven't tried Affinity Publisher, but it exists. I haven't tried that either. I didn't even know it existed, so maybe that's something to look at. So let's see if the rendering here is actually getting all the chunks in. I don't know why the camera is going backwards at first. It shouldn't do that. Although the fact that it's moving backwards while it fills in the chunks does actually kind of work in a way. Good luck with the Tropical Storm Chamomile. Does Affinity Publisher run on Mac? That's the other big thing. Is it Mac software? Award-winning page layout software. I have never heard of somebody using this in a production environment. And I've worked with a lot of people who printed books. It doesn't have... A lot of reviewers said it didn't have all the features required to serve as a full replacement for InDesign. I mean, I don't need everything InDesign does. So maybe it's still viable for me. I don't know. How much... Let me go to their website and find out how much this costs. I don't want a free trial. I want a price. Give me a price. One-time payment, $70. For the universal license for photo, publisher, and designer, $165. This is going to sound dumb, but this would make me way more likely to try making a poetry book. I like that their website... Oh my gosh. The advertisement for this is like... a bunch of things for Hermit. I am Hermit. It's just like they have like a fake brand called Hermit on their website. Yeah, ReplayMod is a whole thing. And we're only doing this at 1080p right now. If we were doing this at 4K, this would be a 3 or 4 hour thing. IR Hermit. You're right. I'm spending $57 a month on Adobe license right now. So if I could spend, and I mostly use Photoshop and Illustrator. If Affinity Photo and Affinity Publisher actually fill the roles of those two, and Affinity Designer would let me replace InDesign, one-time payment of $165. That would pay for itself after the third month, basically. Jason Smith says, OMG, get GIMP instead. GIMP does not work for print pipelines. GIMP is RGB only, or at least it was last time I did a serious print project. And serious print projects need the CMYK color space. If you're only ever making anything for the internet, who cares? You can use GIMP. But if you need CMYK, you can't. I think I'll need to try the free... they have a free trial on here. I'll need to try the free trial and see if this actually meets my needs. But if this would let me uninstall my Adobe subscription and save me $60 basically a month, this would pay for itself in less than 3 months. Foxology tips 20. Thank you, Foxology. Woohoo! Foxology writes, hey, Joe, just wanted to pop in and say I started to watch through your episodes, and I'm sad I didn't start sooner. You're a delight to watch. The vibes are so chill. Thank you for doing what you do. Well, thank you, Foxology, for supporting the show. If you've never seen one of my streams before, you might not know when we hit a $20 milestone on this here Abacus, which, hey, you pushed a $3 past, then I get to say, expand Joe, do-do-do-do. Make the camera a little bit bigger down here in the lower left. We are now 17 away from our next face camera expansion milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay. Jason Smith says, doesn't work for what? Missed that word. CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, K, which is basically like print inks. If you're going to print something on like fancy paper with the right ink, you don't want it in RGB. You need the color space to match the actual inks in the printer heads. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah, Microbird says bonus points if you're trying to use Pantones which don't work with RGB or CMYK. Yeah, that was actually another big reason to use Adobe for a while, was because it had built-in Pantone support. So you wouldn't have to worry about that too much. Nez says, would you be printing in color or black and white? Well, the cover would be in color. The interior of the book would probably be black and white, but I used to print color stuff all the time. So, like, if I was printing postcards or pogs or anything physical. Yeah, you got to have the swatch books of the Pantones, because the digital representations are not going to be accurate. They're just supposed to be representative so that you can reference the swatch books. And okay. So Affinity software runs on Apple Silicon. I meet all of the tech spec requirements. What are the new features that they're adding? I'm looking at their changelog to see what sorts of things they think are worth adding at this state in the game. Snappable guides. Bum, ba-dum, bum. AutoCAD, DWG, DXF, import, place, and edit, maintaining layer structure and scaling. Ooh, AutoCAD support would be huge for me. I would not complain about that. Jason Smith says, do you run a Minecraft server, Joe? I like to think it runs me. Real-time gradients, effects, blend modes, regular retina, full... Undo, redo 8,000 history steps. This looks kind of like a no-brainer. Let's look at their typography. Okay. You can import InDesign files. You can do spread setups, master pages, picture frames, tables, sections, pinned objects. I mean, this all looks pretty good. This looks like what I need. Pro font support, text ruler, checking your work, characters and paragraphs. Font management. Works with CMYK, RGB, RGB hex, lab, grayscale color models, Pantone. What are we researching today? Adobe InDesign alternatives, Devin Crotties. We're currently reading the Affinity Publisher 2 full feature list. Because I'm currently spending $60 a month on Adobe software monthly license. And the three things I need are InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator. And for $165, I can buy a pack from Affinity that supposedly can replace all three. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm a skeptical person by nature. Ooh, okay. So, for example, on their website here, they have an add-on section where you can pay more to add things. What are they trying to upsell me on here? What is not included here that they're going to upsell me on? Looks like mostly texture packs. Brush packs. Okay. That's not bad. If that's what they're trying to sell me on is additional textures and brushes, that's fine. I'd pay for that if I needed them, and I usually don't need them. Okay. I was like, if they were going to be like font support and an additional $25, then I'd be like, I'm out. Vector and raster. So let's see their Adobe Illustrator replacement. This looks pretty nice. This is not a paid advertisement stream. This is just something somebody randomly suggested while we're waiting for the render to go. Yeah, so I'd be out $165 up front, but I would save $60 a month. So that means the first year, okay, so the next 3 months would be canceled basically, and then so this year I would save $60, but then the next year 60 times 12 I would save $720. My rent just went up by $50 a month, so this would like cancel out my rent increase, and then I'd come out $10 a month ahead. I think I'm gonna cancel Adobe. And in the box, when they ask why I cancel it, I'm gonna say my landlord raised my rent by this much per month. I don't want to use a web-based alternative because I'm constantly working places without the internet. Web-based alternatives are not good for my use cases. I don't work well in places with the internet, so I go places without the internet on purpose to do focused work. If I have to lay out this book, I'm going to go to a library where I don't have the Wi-Fi password. Right? How much does it cost to get access to my Minecraft server? It's $10 a month via Patreon. It's Java only. We don't do any Bedrock. Welcome, Emily. We are just doing a time lapse here of destroying the perimeter or improving the perimeter, depending on how you want to look at it, in my opinion. Yeah, no, like when I need to do work in this software, I need to do serious work usually. If I'm in InDesign, I'm going to be in InDesign for 2 hours. And if I have access to the internet and no one's watching me stream my InDesign screaming, I will just go use the internet instead. Yeah, we just did some landscaping near my base. So, okay. Hey, we got a tip via PayPal from Stephanie Hall 17, who says, another 17 to expand, Joe. Thank you, Bonk Noise, for expanding Joe. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's see how that file turned out. If we change the selected file to... Why is there not a detail mode? Okay, date, here it is. This is the latest one. Open, okay, play. So we're going to crop out that first 5 seconds while it fills in. Is there actually anything happening here? Oh, yeah. There's some dirt getting put in. I'm realizing the camera probably needs to move the other direction so we can show the action where it's happening better. Sometimes that's how we learn. Okay. Yeah, yep. The action's the opposite direction. Okay. Boop. 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 Okay. Also, when we do get over there, probably want to go further this way. If we're trying to keep that centered, which we ostensibly are. Wait, no, hold on. No, because we're coming from back here toward over here. So if we want to show that, we need to maybe come this way some. Okay. Have you ever had a good dream where when you woke up, you were angry because you were like, you were so happy in the dream that something good had happened? And then you woke up and you're like, that thing didn't really happen. Oh no. In fact, that thing might never happen. Like if you have a dream where like you won the lottery and you'd never have to worry about money again. And then you woke up and you're like, oh, it's the opposite. And it just kind of completely deflates you. Just as a quick reminder, too, tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. This is a viewer-supported stream. But yeah, the last dream I had like that was a few months ago. I had a dream that I didn't need Adobe products anymore. I was just like, that was the last thing I used Adobe for. I can cancel this and I can leave a silly, mean comment. Because I had been, like, it was like a day that I canceled, like, Netflix and a bunch of my other services because I was trying to save money. And so then I dreamed that I got to cancel. And whenever I cancel a service, I always leave terrible reasons. Like when I canceled Netflix, I said I didn't like the name they gave the baby in Mandalorian. Right? And so that night I had a dream that I canceled my Adobe subscription to. And I woke up and I'm like, that's been an anchor slowing me down for 10 years. I'm so happy I finally did it. You know, what can't I get done today? And then I was like, wait, when did I do that? Did I do that yesterday? When yesterday did I do that? Oh, no, that was part of the dream. And I was so mad. Emily says, what was your mean comment to Adobe? I don't remember. I just remember in the dream being really proud of myself. But like I said, the Adobe cancellation wasn't real. That was the dream, was that I was able to cancel Adobe. And I was like, well, I'm using Photoshop for parts of the pinball machine, and I'm using Illustrator for these other things, and we need InDesign for the upcoming book project with the poetry. Probably can't do that. But this is looking super promising, actually. Thank you. Who recommended this initially? This was, if we scroll up, somebody recommended this in the Discord, I think, here. Was it Microbird? Yeah, thank you, Microbird, for the suggestion. Technologic says, truly a dream to not be paying Adobe ever again. Yeah. Yeah. So. Grace Winter says, I mean, the Mandalorian thing seems like a pretty good reason for any service. Yeah. I think when I canceled Hulu, I said Game of Thrones final season unsatisfactory. And, like, I know Hulu didn't make that, but, you know, there's somebody who, in theory, has the job of reading those comments, or at least categorizing them, and then, like, so, like, 90% of them get categorized by a computer, and then the ones that can't be categorized, like, a person will look at and have to classify themselves. And so somebody saw that and was just like, this guy canceled Hulu because the last season of Game of Thrones was bad. Like, that's got to make their day. Wait, what did I do there? Yeah, okay, cool. And then we got another tip rolling in from PayPal, from Debbie. Thank you, Debbie, for the 31, who says, goodbye, Adobe. Woo! So that's going to get us 11 past that next face camera expansion milestone, 9 away from the next one. Up until this point, y'all have seen that money. Oh, gosh, this is tangled in the second headphones. We have a lot more problems here than we did a minute ago. Y'all have seen that money go straight to my head with each face camera expansion milestone we hit. But now, like Jacob Marley, these chains I've forged in life are about to begin pulling me down to the deep below. Enter the show. Where would it go? Lowering the Joe opacity now to 90%. At this point, each additional face camera expansion will be accompanied by a corresponding drop in Joe opacity. And we are 9 away from that next milestone. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Yeah, canceling Adobe would literally be a dream come true. I hadn't thought about it that way, Alexis, but I really appreciate that's exactly the right attitude to have here. Let's see how the preview looks here. I feel like we're too high. My gut says we're not following the action well. Let's not bother rendering the whole thing. This is enough for me to see that this is not it. I spent like a lot of time today just thinking about how this should go. And visualizing something in your head and then getting it to actually work is a cinematographic skill that I am still in the process of mastering. So the problem is if we get too low to the horizon, you can't really see the whole pinball machine. But it looms. It pokes out between the trees, and it looms. I feel like if we start with it over there... I'm going to save this as sweep. The keyframe repository. So let's start low here. And then keep it low. But like bring it... Do I have a prop chest next to my chair or something? No, the chains were just on the floor tangled up in the headphone wire. That's why we got tangled in the headphone wire. It's kind of funnier just hovering above like that, yeah. And then you can start seeing the warning label come into view as we sweep around here. Sweep around, at how lucky we are to be alive right now. Okay. Yeah. The problem is there, it starts getting harder and harder to see, but this is where we maybe pull the camera back some to this point. Can we have the camera get lower for a little bit maybe? And it's more dramatic when it swings up. I don't know why it does this weird reverse sweep here. Well, it does the loading. So by this time, this whole area is already filled in. Okay, let's try removing that entirely. But like basically we already need to have this over here if we want to be showing that. So let's try moving that further back. I've thought about shooting it from inside the perimeter, but the problem is if we shoot it from inside the perimeter, you can't see the pinball machine at all. So the problem is we're now at this point, and everything in front of us here is actually already covered. Can we keep the pinball machine in frame while staying like this maybe? Hand action. Players start acting. Now we're there too fast. The problem is it won't. It can't preview this many frames this quickly. We just have to do a test render. That's the way it be sometimes. Okay, so we're about 400 frames in, so that should be about where action begins here. Salem says, did my PayPal tip go through? Just asking because it's been a bit. We've been having trouble with PayPal alerts on weekend nights. I think they're doing server maintenance. Let me do a hard refresh here. Salem did tip 10. Sorry, Salem, for that not coming through right away. Who says, I cackled out loud at that tips reminder, so here's a tip. Well, thank you so much. That does indeed put us past our next face camera expansion milestone. So here we go. It's time to expand Jost. Lowering the Joe opacity now to 80%. Thank you, Salem. Yeah, especially on the weekends. We have some issues with that. So, appreciate it. Are we still setting up the stream? Kind of. I don't really feel like it's... I don't feel like it's done. Lay your head down, dream, Stephanie. Mariposa says, just got here. What's going on? I'm working on some ReplayMod time lapses for my next video. Yeah, parts of this are going to be good, and parts of this are going to be terrible, is what I'm realizing. Like, this part here is not great, because there's nothing of interest in the foreground, and the background is obscured. Have a good night, Sean Deere. Is the stream set up enough we can get the setting up stream song? Yeah.
p.m. the usual streaming setup. Turn on the lights, make sure they're bright and gleam. Title, tweet, pour water, tank top, and chroma. OBS seems all set, so I click start the streaming. So I'll pause, fold in, and open VLC. I'll pick 2 songs before lay your head down and dream. I'll say that's us to y'all, Joe Hills from Tennessee. Folks asking when will my stream begin? After howdy, it's items and chest tools breaking. Pickaxe went poof while talking to you professional Minecrafter here, there's no mistaking. So I'll click crafting quick anvil time and champ pick, then I'll replace the books in a random chest with care. I'll tour my winery, I'm sure there's blocks somewhere. And then I'll hush and hush and hush and hush chaps where not any closer to recording. Folks keep asking and asking and asking and asking, when will my stream begin? Seriously, y'all, I need to record this next episode. I've been working toward. I can't edit without footage, no. Once I'm all geared up, maybe we can start the show.
Okay, so let's take down that setting up stream sign, I guess. Okay. So there's a few things here that I'm not super happy with. I really wish I could preview this without it being complete garbage, but the preview setting on this is not great. I think one of the big problems we're going to have is there's a really long time in here where nothing of use is happening, like right in here. So what if we remove that one? We might have crashed the software there. We might have crashed the software. We didn't. I am shocked. How did that happen? Okay. Part of the problem is the pinball machine isn't. There's no reason for this one to be so weird. Okay. Now, is that going to break all the rest of these? No. So the problem is the further we get from the hermits, the smaller things get, and the deeper the deep field is behind the hillside there. Okay, let's just go with what we got and see how it turns out. King Do says, I think Rian's right. There's nothing anyone can do short of carpet bombing Doc's base to accelerate things at this point. And Doc's probably about to carpet bomb his base himself. Yeah, that's like, I mean, people were talking about different ways you could solve this problem with redstone very quickly, just speculating. Like, there's a lot. Every hermit has ideas about ways one person could clean this up with a clever redstone contraption. We might disagree about what that contraption should look like, or how large or efficient it should be versus how funny it should be, but nobody thinks that it would be hard to clean this up with redstone and flying machines and TNT duping. And nobody thinks Doc is incapable of redstone TNT machines and flying duping. So, there's that. Nobody believed this would be a real problem for Doc to fix. I've seen some comments like, it's not cool to make a prank that's so hard for someone to clean up. But, like, with Doc's skill set is exactly the skill set to clean this up. If that makes any sense. Okay, so by this point here, we need to have the camera further along. So this is... Why is that? Hold on. So, okay, so this is about where the camera actually was at that time. And we just need it to be a little bit further this way, maybe. Yeah, Perl also has a cleanup service. That's the other thing, is that like if there's a real problem, we can just have Perl. We can just pay Perl to clean it up. And so like at that point, easy peasy lemon squeezies, right? Okay, let's try adding a keyframe here. Okay, new test render, go. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way Doc can't figure this out. Like, a lot of this sort of level of improvisation is driven on trust in the other people's competence. And yeah, if we did this to like, let's say that like, you know, let's say that we got invited to some server that some kids played on. If we did something like this to a kid who was really proud of the perimeter they dug, that would be uncool. But to do this to somebody who can either hire Pearl or build something in Redstone themselves, yeah, we're okay. We're okay. Jackie Ann has asked me to stop with the negative comments about how the hermits work together. Will do, Jackie Ann. Sorry for taking such a negative tone so far. I will try to be more positive this episode, or this stream. Waiting for this to load. Okay, so we're enough frames into this, we can actually start showing the preview and have it mean something. The first few frames of the preview is just the chunk loading, so we just don't bother with that. So yeah, you can see the pinball machine there, behind there. Camera's turning away a little bit too soon here, but especially because there's no action there except for just me by myself starting to work over there. And you can't even see me, I'm behind the hill a little bit. False comes to help me, but you can't really see it. Then other people start popping over this way. Yeah, this is definitely better than what we had. Salem says, I think I've just invented my next RPG character. I'm assuming that's the rock climbing grandma. I think you might like grandmother Rosie Beestinger from the C Team D&D podcast. She's a very, very good monk and also very, very old. And there's one stage show they did where all of the characters set off a magical trap and got de-aged by like 40 years. And it's like all of the other characters around her got turned into like 6-year-olds. And the Dungeon Master's like, and Rosie, above your eyebrows, a single wrinkle disappears. You haven't felt this great in decades. But yeah, she's just so old. It's like, yeah, you can shave 30 years off her life. And nope, she's still a super old lady. So she was also the only one who didn't lose all of her abilities and whatnot in that session, which is fun. It's the Acquisitions Incorporated C Team. It's my favorite. So like the Hit the Merch Store song was inspired by the C Team. Okay. Let me see if I can find this. They have the best website ever. Let me see if I can. But yeah, if you go back to season 1, and then you go down to the bottom, episode 1, season 1, open file. You can download the podcast here. But yeah, the in the Hit the Merch Store, the verse that starts with Rosie, she's shopped here before, is about that character. Rosie, she shopped here before. Let's play this song. We're doing this anyway with the thing. Let's play the song. Because our grandkids get gifts from the store.
It's absurdity in RPG font. Tycho Brahe's behind creased cardboard, but you don't pull up chairs for humor, do you? You shouldn't miss this guy Cathris. He shakes a stone as Light Eldritch, compelling you, the viewers, to hit the merch store. 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 Walnut's Grove is gone, which sucks for a druid. Plus mail is strong, but nuts wise into it. Sigils on the cave wall stabbed like daggers. She took wolf form and she howled aloud. She bit at Cathris and she snapped her snout. And by her instincts led you to the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Rosie, she's shopped there before. All her grandkids get gifts from this store. Little halflings with their kingpins playing footloose. I've seen them picnic beneath the stars, wearing their bright dark magic scarves. It's a one-stop shop for birthdays at the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store.
Denard's a paladin, dragonborn, who treats everybody else with scorn. But you know that they all deserve it, don't you? He gains entitlement from bits, or so Jerry claims, so I guess it fits. And they both expect you all to hit the merch store.
Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store. Maybe there are gods beyond whose tendrils shift their waking pawns, but Jerry kinda seems like he has got this. Except the times when the phones light up and ideas arise, then outright erupt, and Jerry's gone, volcanic cursed Rothfuss. What now, Rothfuss? Come on, Rothfuss. Ignore Rothfuss. Gosh darn Rothfuss. Dang it, Rothfuss. My game, Rothfuss. Go home, Rothfuss.
Shut up,
Rothfuss. Flippin' Rothfuss. Let's not do this. Hit the merch store. Hit the merch store.
Yeah, so anyway, that song is about this D&D game. And kind of the joke was when they launched the series, we're like, we want to find excuses to hang out with our friends more and convince you to hit the merch store to buy more t-shirts. So we're doing this. That sort of thing. And yeah, I was singing along kind of with parts of it. But yeah, so I wrote that song like 3 or 4 weeks into their first season. And basically it ended up being like when I met them at PAX, they were like, wait, you're that guy? Like that was when I knew we had crossed the Rubicon with this project. So yeah, y'all aren't the only one who make fan art. I just do stuff like this, you know. Why would I pull the camera out so far at this point? It does show the deep field there. We're an hour and 40 minutes into this, and we're still on the same clip. If y'all are ever like, Joe, how come editing takes you so long? It's because I'll just be sitting here trial and erroring stuff like this for a long time. And like, I know perfect is the opposite of done, but sometimes I can tell when I'm like, this isn't right, but it could be right if I just do another pass or two. Like, I can tell I'm close. And I feel like this is close enough to right that I can use this and then move on to the next clip and it'll work. We might be able to refine it somewhat, but it conveys what I need it to convey. Fallstar says, what kind of music do you like to keep on in the background? Well, I'm pretty sure I've shared my Manic Impressive playlist before, haven't I? Like, if I'm trying to get serious work done, I've got a playlist I use. I call it Manic Impressive. And it's got like a share link. I've posted this to Twitter before. Can I share it to the YouTube chat though? Hold on. Copy link. If I pull up the YouTube chat on my phone, yeah, we're gonna go to Perimeter Replay Mod, and then can I paste this playlist? I have no idea what happens if you actually click on that. What happens if I click on that on my computer? Yeah, so there you go. Technologic wants to know why editing takes so long. Probably something you did, Technologic. I can post the link here too. Hold on. How do let me playlist. But like this is the playlist I put on when I have serious work to do. That's a photo that I took the same day as the photo that's on my phone background and my website. My phone background is the same as my website header photo, just different proportions. Am I still keeping up with Taskmaster? I mean, I never caught up with it. I never kept up with it. I was watching 1 or 2 episodes a day for a while, but I was like 100 episodes behind, and then I had to stop because I was not getting enough other stuff done. I'm trying to focus on getting my editing schedule fixed. That's a high priority for me right now because I feel like if I can't get that fixed, I can't do anything. So, yeah, I'm going to work on that. EJO Studio says, was not expecting the first song to be quite as loud, which was a fun surprise as headphones. It's a very loud song. It helps me get work done. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so let's see what that actually looks like in the thing here. In the renderer. So the rendered version of this, if we hit play. The first 5 seconds is just chunk loading, and then we unpause now. Yeah, this isn't perfect, but we kind of almost nailed it. We set the core concept into motion. This bit here has the grass growing, which is good. We got a few steps there as I left for the nether temporarily, which caused a glitch in the thing, but it's still better than it would have been. Now, we don't have a lot of action here, just grass growing while I fill in that pit. I start coming around there. That's when we were talking about bonds. Oh, man. Okay, I start filling in that. Meanwhile, other people are back here filling in this. I'm stretching that around. Everybody's extending these things in different ways. I still don't know who did this stupid rise to meet the mountain there. That really created a lot of work for everybody. The other side, we were happy just having it meet the wall. That was okay. Okay, cool. So that's good. Exit replay. Drew Baca says it's a respectable amount of Jonathan Colton. Yeah, I made this playlist a few years ago, and I've been considering revisiting it and maybe taking out Creepy Doll. But it's got a high... The thing is, it's got a high energy. All of this is music that's very high energy or inspirational or agitational. It's designed to keep me moving. And the song Creepy Doll has that keep moving thing. Bonds as in, like, treasury bills. You can tell we're into hour 8 of a project when we start, like, you know, has anybody looked at the treasury bills lately? But it was one of those things where everybody's like, oh no, how long have we been doing this? Oh, we've talked about everything else at this point, and that's what we were getting to. Oh. Okay, so replay viewer. Superstone says, just looked at the playlist. I only know 2 of the songs. Are they La Vie Boheme and La Vie Boheme B? Is there a way to get under here and show the pinball machine is the question. Okay, so I feel like I ended up spending a lot of time over here trying to fix this plot. So having this here isn't necessarily bad. Okay, so the problem here is at some point in the middle of this is when we actually started doing the trees. That'll Be the Day and Fire on the Mountain are both great musics. That'll be the day that I die. Yeah, Fire on the Mountain is a really good one. We should probably have that as a goal song one time for the Quinn streams. Move my family away from my Carolina home. Had dreams about the West and started to roam. 6 long months on a dust-covered trail. They say heaven's at the end, but so far it's been hell. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air. Cold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. Fire on the mountain, lightning in the air. Cold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. Jason Smith says you should add some Flight of the Conchords. You know what? I really do like Flight of the Conchords a lot. I like the hip-hop-a-pot. I'm the hippopotamus. My rhymes, they flow like phosphorus, popping off the top of this esophagus. Something this. Yeah. No, I like Flight of the Conchords. What I really need to add is the You're Dead song. That's the What We Do in the Shadows theme by Norma. Can I find the lyrics? You're Dead lyrics. Don't sing if you want to live long. They have no use for your song. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead. You're dead and out of this world. You'll never get a second chance. Plan all your moves in advance. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead. Stay dead and out of this world. Run fast, don't stand in the sun. There's too much work to be done. You're down, you're down, you're down. You're down and out of this world. Don't ever talk with your eyes. Be sure that you compromise. You're dead, you're dead, you're dead. You're dead and out of this world. Professor Red Fox says, do you ever listen to folk or Americana? No. What's that? Now your hope and compassion is gone. You've sold out your dream to the world. Stay dead, stay dead, stay dead. You're dead and out of this world. Meanwhile, Devin Crates writes, I used to put Green Day albums on at 1.5x speed for high energy. Interesting. So I think at this point is where we have finished. And we're going to regroup over here. Oh, it's an Offspring album? That's cool. Okay, so, yeah, this is... There's me removing that. Yeah. Okay, so where are we in the timeline here? This is the 27-minute mark. Which, if this is the 71-minute mark, let's simplify this. Let's move that out to 71 seconds. So now we're at the 29-minute mark, and so basically at this point, this part is no longer important. We need to come back in for the meeting and the great we need to keep deep field loaded. Loading. Keep that deep field loaded. Keep that deep field loaded. Okay, so then from here we need to bring it up to there. And we need to have the camera come over time to face that. Okay. I feel like that's about right. So render. I'm joking, Professor Red Fox. I'm joking. Like, I feel like our Outska country is pretty clearly inspired by Americana. But also we got stuff like this.
Who's the guy who can conquer death? That's Joe Hills. He plays for Nashville when he plays Minecraft.
That's Joe Hills. That's Joe Hills.
You gotta think about a time long past, long before all this. The summer is past, but your days keep growing longer. There's no wind in your sails, but the storm's blowing strong. Walking hard, standing tall, keeping your head up through it all. Fighting fires, spinning plates. Thank goodness, how'd it get so late? Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and dream. Just let your mind float downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. The city is bright, but the stars keep growing dimmer. The dishwasher runs, and you find forks for dinner. Killing lights, charging phones, setting alarms to make their tone. Winding down, closing blinds, for rest for tomorrow when there's time. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and dream. Just let your mind float downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and dream.
What other classics do we have? Well, we're just waiting for this to render. It's fine. We'll just leave it there. Are there any downsides to running the Java server cross-platform? Yeah, it doesn't work well. If you just need something that works, and if you don't care if it works well, then that's an option for you. Can we have the outro song tonight at the end of the stream? Honestly, I should end the stream now, because this will encode faster if the stream's not running. Not much faster, but a little faster. And I need to go put some clothes away and get some stuff ready for bed anyway. It is a school night, and I really wanted to get this editing done before I went to bed. Oh, and I need to restart the pinball tournament. I've got a few chores I need to do before bed and some Patreon management stuff. So, yeah, let's play the outro theme, and then I will wrap up. Where is it? Your head down, dream, outro. Reprise.
The city is bright, but the stars keep growing dimmer. The dishwasher runs, then you find forks from dinner. Killing lights, charging phones, setting alarms to make their tones. Winding down, closing blinds, the rest for tomorrow when there's time. Lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and just let your mind flow downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. Joe Hills has left the building.
I have. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.